Alright guys, some bonus content for you guys because it's Friday and I know most of you guys work. Most of my crowd, we work all week and we look forward to Friday as a chance to, finally unwind and stay up a little late. So some bonus content for you guys. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the super chat, hit the PayPal, hit the Cash App. This is what's going on in America. This is what's going on in America right now. The New Jersey Attorney General wants the criminal justice system to detain juvenile offenders as a last resort. And this is him right here. A person of color. And he wokety woke. This is woke. Considering if you've seen the stories I've been doing, especially the one I did on Baltimore a few weeks ago, the carjacking issue going on in Baltimore, well, just all over the country. And we know who's doing the carjackings. We know the age. We know all the descriptors. They're juveniles. But this guy, he's woke and he wants you to know how woke he is. So he's a very powerful person. He's the Attorney General for New Jersey. New Jersey State Attorney General's office released a 33-page directive Thursday outlining measures to keep juvenile offenders in their communities. I like the way they frame that. To keep juvenile offenders in their communities. Kind of how they doing with the border. Separating kids from their parents. It's the same type of trick, the same type of linguistic maze, the same type of underhanded, just they tongue tie you to where you're like, you don't even realize what's going on anymore. At the border, they're separating kids from their children. Kids from their parents. They're not like detaining people who legally cross the border and putting the kids in one section and the parents in another section. I remember I saw the Johnson family, Johnson family reunion the other day with Cedric entertaining Steve Harvey. It was a decent movie, but this is my first time seeing it. I had missed it when it came out. It came out like 06, 04, something like that. But anyway, on their way to the family reunion, Cedric the entertainer and his family got arrested. And he had a little daughter. She was like 4 years old. He had an older daughter played by Solange, a son played by Bow Wow, and a little girl daughter who I don't know who played that daughter, but all of them was in the cell. They had got pulled over for something. Godfrey was the cop. And they went in, like, the little girl was in the cell. Cedric, our whole family was in the cell. They was waiting for to get bailed out. It was hysterical. But that's just not how it works. They're not going to put your kids in the cell with you. Now that we're keeping juvenile offenders in their communities, because, when they commit crimes and get locked up for it, that's you doing something to them. You're taking them out of their community. Because remember, the people are represented by two equal and separate groups. The cops who make the arrest on the street, and the district attorney's office who prosecutes the offenders. The cops enforce the law on the street, and the district attorney's office prosecutes the offenders. If you've ever seen Law and Order, you know that. The people are represented by two equal but separate groups. And what they're telling these two equal groups that represent the people, because you have to understand, that represents you Your tax dollars pay for that. Safety. The people are represented. We are the people. We're represented by these groups. Now these groups are being accused of removing juveniles from their communities. Under these rules, cops and prosecutors should only lock up a juvenile as a last resort. Governor Phil Murphy said the reform bolsters state efforts to eliminate long-standing disparities that prevent juveniles from communities of color from reaching their full potential. All right? According to the Attorney General's office, 12,000 juveniles were detained in 2003, and the new total is less than 2,500 every year. So that they're detaining 10,000 less juveniles every year. Because it's racist. And it prevents children of color from achieving their potential. He goes on to say, if we can turn the youth away from the juvenile justice system, we know they stand a much better chance of turning their life toward success in the long run, stated General Attorney Guber Graywall said in a statement. According to the rules, when an officer catches a juvenile committing a minor offense, the officer should issue a face-to-face warning and generally not take them into the police station. Tisk, 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 young man. The cops should just carry rulers, like back in the 80s when I was in... I think I was the last generation where you had to put your hand out and the teacher pop you on the back of your hand with the ruler. But even that's a slippery slope. Officers have been asked to track these curbside warnings. Curbside warnings. And what constitutes a minor offense? The rules also encourage prosecutors to try rehabilitation or other social service options first when a juvenile is charged. So remember, the people are represented by two separate but equal groups. The rules also encourage prosecutors. So you have the police, just warn them, just give them a warning, a curbside warning. Don't lock them up. And then the prosecutors, if they get locked up by some stretch, just unlucky kid just happens to get locked up for committing a crime, then the prosecutors are being told not to prosecute them. And it leads to stuff like this. This is California. 2 15-year-olds and a 17-year-old. This happened November 12th. They're coming over trying to steal this man's truck. First, they ask you a bunch of questions. I hope you guys are hip to this. Questions. Hey, man, you got a dollar? Hey, man, you see... A bunch of hooded up teens come over and ask you a bunch of questions. Just start questioning you. And look, he's out there alone. The police have been defunded. Just caught one to the chin. The police have been defunded. See this guy coming sneaking in this car. Look at this. And I got videos of this happening to older women that I've done videos on. This is common. They'll just wear you out. Dragging him by his leg out of his car. Wow. Hop in the car. They got his keys. They took his car. Here's another incident. 3 teens. 2 15-year-olds and 17-year-old. Maybe if there was midnight basketball, maybe they wouldn't have to do this. Damn. Homie went back behind the dumpster to pee, and here they come to rob him. Went to go take a pee, and here they come to rob him. And this is broad daylight, because the police have been defunded. Police are not doing patrols like they used to do. Police ride around, but they're not patrolling these areas. It would be a police sitting outside of the liquor store this late at night. Took his stuff, and they gone. Got his keys. Back to his car. This is New York. You see the kids, the teens, riding around with those Hasidic hats. Those hats belong to Hasidic Jews. There's a whole bunch of them in like Brooklyn, Williamsburg, that area. These kids have been going around snatching the hats off of Hasidic men's heads. Now, the Hasidic men who got their hats snatched should consider themselves lucky that this is the new take on the knockout game. That all they're doing now is snatching the hats off of their heads. Because there was a time not long ago, like now, where these teens would sneak up on Hasidic Jews and clobber them for no reason at all other than to get a good laugh and to test their strength.
A Jewish man walking on Rodney Street near Marcy Street in Williamsburg suddenly slapped so hard his hat flies off and he nearly falls over. The NYPD says it happened last night around 7:30.
It's ridiculous. Sounds crazy. It's getting worse by the day.
The suspect seen running away is now wanted for assaulting the 39-year-old husband and father. I spoke with the victim's wife who did not want to go on camera, but she says he and the family are traumatized. No words were exchanged before the incident. He was just walking home from the train station. Former Brooklyn Assemblyman Dov Hikind tweeted, "This attack resembles Nazi Germany, where anti-Semites attack Jews with glee. We won't tolerate it." The man was not injured, but he's the second Jew to be targeted in 1 week in the area. In an unrelated incident Saturday on Broadway around 1 p.m., a 42-year-old man was violently punched in the face by a stranger who shouted anti-Jewish slurs at him. Police say that attacker also ran away. Rachel Grinspan of the Anti-Defamation League says anti-Semitic incidents are not only becoming more common, but more violent.
What we have been seeing, unfortunately, is an increase in the violence that has been displayed against members of the Jewish community.
The latest numbers from the NYPD show a 67% increase in hate crimes since the beginning of the year. It's making community members like Isaac, who has lived here for 50 years,
More looking over my shoulder.
the victim in yesterday's attack is back at work. He may be more cautious, but he won't stay silent. And the ADL says reporting the incidents is the first step in combating the problem. In Williamsburg, Brooklyn, Lisa Rosner, CBS 2 News.
Now, who would you rather be? The guy who gets sucker punched from behind? Or the guy who just gets his hat snatched? Or the kid, who gets his hat snatched? Who would you rather be? So, and this is fun. This is like, this is fun. Like, you gotta understand, like, this is not like crime. This isn't like AOC said, I gotta feed my family, I gotta get a loaf of bread to feed my family. This ain't crime. This is fun. It's like going out to the lake and skipping rocks. Like going down to the rec center and playing a game of ping pong or table or foosball. This is fun. Okay? This is a pastime. This is something done to bring enjoyment. This has nothing to do with we're poor. We gotta feed our family. Our parents strung out on drugs. We need to eat. I'm just trying to make it. No, this is fun. Okay? Going around, broad daylight, snatching Hasidics hats, collecting them, seeing how many you can get. And this is so much less violent and such a better alternative for that community than what goes on normally. This is actually like a great day in that community's history. Like, they only doing this, they only snatching our hats, they're not, because they did a study in New York. They looked at the data, all those victim surveys, all the suspect descriptions, and they found out that all of the anti-Semitic attacks that they talked about when Trump, remember they said when Trump emboldened racists and he emboldened Nazis and it led directly to uptick in hate crimes against the Jewish community. Well, they did a study and they found out that not some, not 90%, not 70%, not 98%, not 94%, all of the attacks that happened against that group of people in New York were committed by another group of people. And the majority of the people in that group of people that committed those attacks were in a certain age range. And guess what age range that would be? So when the Attorney General for New Jersey says that he wants to even, it's already catch and release. It's already a slap on the wrist for juvenile offenders. But now they want to make it to where it's even more. It's nothing, because you are removing these young kids from their communities. The groups that represent you, the law enforcement officers on the street and the prosecutors in the district attorney's office, are removing young children of color from their communities. That's the language. So if these kids got caught, they would get a curbside warning. A curbside warning from the officer. The officer would be able to have, if these liberals, after 4 years of Biden, these liberals running the country, boy, y'all made a mistake. You guys made a monumental mistake. Sisters, and you sisters gonna pay for this, because sisters are vulnerable in the streets. They're women. Sisters are vulnerable on the streets. The only thing that's really messed up is that this is sisters. This is their kids doing it. This is what sisters have created. So now she don't have to worry about her little son getting locked. The most he gonna get is a curbside warning when he does something like this. So she's gotten a victory, I guess. If you want to look at it, she did get something out of the election. I guess she did. She did get something out of the election. Her kid will now, the one who's doing the carjackings, because they did the video the other day. We saw who's doing the carjackings. We see who's doing the knockout game. We see who's stealing the hats off people's heads. So in the end, sisters, I have to say, y'all did get something from the Democratic Party. So salute to y'all, man. I slept on y'all. These little gremlins that y'all, these little deviant degenerates that y'all produce, will now, instead of catch and release, instead of getting out the next day, you coming down to the station and picking them up that later on that evening, or you coming down to the receiving home and picking them up the next day. Now, he don't even have to worry about that. He just gonna get a curbside warning. Because it was already catch and release. Now it's just a curbside warning. And if by some chance, an officer who's not with the program arrests your young son, your young king, the prosecutors have been told not to prosecute. Get in the comment section. Peace.